Social media is the latest weapon Islamic extremists are using against Middle East Christians. Open Doors reports a trend of hackers taking over Christian Facebook pages and posting anti-Islamic messages, resulting not only in Muslim mobs attacking their homes, but the Christians being arrested and charged with violating blasphemy laws. CBN Chief International Correspondent Gary Lane spoke with David Curry of Open Doors about this troubling new trend.
Recently, I know that Open Doors reported an incident of this in Egypt. Tell us what happened there.
A young man, Youssef Todari, had a hacker come into his Facebook page and post blasphemous, according to Islamic law, blasphemous material. He quickly went on to his Facebook page, identified that, and said, "Look, I did not post this. I'm sorry if I've offended anybody." Nevertheless, there was a mob that attacked his house, stole everything in it. Then the police came back and arrested him for the process. Unfortunately, Youssef isn't the only one to whom this has happened. It's beginning to be a trend. And what we see is that these extremist groups have the money to hire sophisticated hackers, and they're using it to try to stir up unrest and dissent amongst these populations in Egypt in particular, and in other places as well, perhaps.
David, I've been to Egypt before, and many of the people there just cannot afford this type of thing. So who is behind this? What kind of groups have the resources, the finances to employ hackers?
Well, we know that ISIS, Al-Qaeda all have bases in Egypt. They make attacks against Christians in the upper part of Egypt on a regular basis, unfortunately all too regular. So they certainly have the money necessary to do these kinds of things.
And what's the goal of these groups? What are they looking for?
I think the goal is to show how aberrant Christian behavior is within these Islamic extremist communities, to try to turn people against Christians, to see that, look, they don't honor our faith. Really, of course, Christians within that community are peaceful people. They're obeying the civic laws. And I think this is an attempt to turn people against Christians generally.
And how can our brothers and sisters in Christ protect themselves?
Well, we're raising the flag on this because I think people need to know about it. They need to be changing their passwords. They need to understand both the positives and negatives of social media interaction, and that sometimes it's going to be used against you. And it's a way that people can set you up for some time in prison, in the case of the Egyptian believers now who are facing at least 3 years in prison.
And I know in Egypt and Pakistan as well, there's a big problem for Christians, the blasphemy laws. What can be done about these blasphemy laws?
We need to challenge them in every way. Anybody can make a vigilante claim of justice and say, look, I heard this person, a Christian, blaspheme the name of Muhammad. And in Pakistan, they could face the death sentence. In Egypt, it's not quite as severe. But what people need to understand is Christians in these communities understand the importance of trying to stay clear of blasphemy laws. They're not trying to provoke this kind of attack against them. That would be foolish in the extreme. And of course, Youssef is well known within his community as being a person who's honorable and honest and would never do such a thing. So this is definitely a case, and one of many cases, unfortunately, as we're beginning to see a trend of people being hacked in their social media and then being set up for a blasphemy charge.
So aren't the Muslims actually committing blasphemy themselves with these fake posts?
I don't know how they view this process. I just think this is, perhaps in their view, a larger attempt to try to push Christians out of their community.
Okay, David Curry of Open Doors, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And for more stories like this, just go to our website at cbnnews.com.